Hello and welcome to Being Catholic Media. I'm glad you have joined us. Well, for those of you who have been following us online will know that we are focusing a lot on the divine will, and today we thought we will continue on that theme and talk again to Kathy Herstig in Medjugorje about her recent experience of visiting the birthplace of Luisa Piccarreta called Corato. So hello and welcome. Kathy, it's great to have you back with us again today to share more on the brilliant divine will.
Hi, Carol. Thanks for asking me. Thanks for having me again.
Yes. And today we're going to share a little bit more about Luisa herself and on the recent trip that you had to her birthplace called Corato and the experience you had there. So perhaps you can start and kick off just there.
Okay, Carol. So maybe I should go back to the first time that I went to Corato. So I was learning about divine will for maybe 3 or 4 years, trying to do the books, Our Lady's Lessons and the Hours of the Passion, and read a little bit from the volumes. And then in 2018, I was 50. I was going to celebrate my 50th birthday in July. So in June, for the anniversary in Medjugorje, the Benedictine Daughters of the Divine Will, they like to come to Medjugorje each year for the anniversary on the 25th of June. So in 2018, they were in Medjugorje and they gave a little talk in our house. And they invited us to become oblates in the divine will, like third order oblates. Mm-hmm. So this interested me, and I decided from the 1st of July, I would sign the form that they gave us. And it meant living the life that Our Lady asks us to live here in Medjugorje, but also reading the volumes for 30 minutes each day, reading Luisa's volumes. So I was going to make this commitment every day to give 30 minutes of my day to the volumes. So I signed that form on the 1st of July. And then also for the anniversary, my 2 friends were in Medjugorje and they were pestering me to go somewhere for my 50th birthday in July, not just stay in Medjugorje, remember it by going somewhere. Yes. So they were coming up with all different places that I should visit. And I said, oh, I'm happy in Medjugorje. And it was warm weather like now. I didn't want to travel very far. And they were throwing all these suggestions at me. And then one of them said, why don't you go to Corato? And then I thought about that for a second. And I thought, I've been learning about divine will for 3 or 4 years. And I never even thought of looking on a map to see where Corato was.
Yes.
So I Googled Corato and I saw that it was near Bari. And then we know from Medjugorje that it's easy to get from Dubrovnik to Bari. So that interested me that it might be something that would be doable. So I had a friend who looked up the ferries. My husband was willing to come with me for 3 or 4 days. And a friend was looking up the ferries, but they were all too expensive and booked out. So it seemed impossible to go by ferry. Then we started looking at the flights, but I had a limit on the price and the time, the date I could go there. I only had 1 week when I could go, and nothing seemed to be available. There didn't seem to be any scheduled flights. And it was the time of the football when Croatia were coming towards the final in the soccer. So that was an exciting time in Medjugorje for my husband and all the Croatians. So he wasn't that keen about going away. He wanted to see the final in the soccer as well. So by chance on my phone, because I was searching for flights, a flight came up from, I wanted a direct flight as well. So I wasn't asking for much. Yeah. I didn't want 2 flights. I wanted a direct flight. So miraculously, it came up on my phone, a flight from Dubrovnik to Bari for around €100 return, which was what I was going to pay. And it turned out that I would have to go for 7 days instead of the 4 days. I had intended to go for a long weekend. So the flight was there. And then I said to my husband, is it okay if I go for 7 days? And he said, I can't go for 7 days, but you should go for 7 days. And then I invited the friend who had invited me to go to Corato because we shared the same birthday in July. So she flew out from Ireland and met me in Bari. And both of us spent the time in Corato in July. So it was miraculous how the whole thing happened within 10 days of signing that form of becoming an oblate. So becoming an oblate means that you share in the prayers of the monks and the Benedictine daughters, their prayers and divine will, and it really brings graces into your own life. So by the 10th of July, I arrive out in Corato, right beside Luisa's tomb.
Right.
and spent 7 nights there. And it was a wonderful time. Then the next thing that happened was there was a novena to Our Lady in the church for those 7 days. So I arrived there at the perfect time. Luisa is in the church, Our Lady of the Greeks, and they have a novena every year in July, and they have a miraculous image of Our Lady that they just take out from their crypt for 9 days of the year while they do the novena. And I ended up there for 7 of those days.
Oh my goodness.
And also they keep the church open in the daytime because the novena is going on. So I could stay in the church and be beside Luisa and pray my rounds and do my prayers all day. So it was really amazing how everything turned out.
So it's like, Kathy, as you say, when you're living in that divine will, that formula is perfect, as you've said before, and everything was seamless. So obviously you were meant to go. This was part of God's divine will for your life because, as you say, the trip was seamless. And you just...
a special present for my 50th birthday.
Absolutely.
And yeah, another thing that happened while we were out there, so we always say that Luisa was a victim soul. And my friend, whose name was Kathy as well, the first time we went into Luisa's house, she said it came to her mind that Anne-Marie, a friend of ours, who was sick, a bit like Luisa, she used to, she came to Medjugorje and she stayed for a few months, and then she seemed to get sick and she returned to Ireland and she couldn't work like normal. So she spent her whole day praying for priests or promoting Medjugorje. And this is all she couldn't work in a normal way. So it's a bit like Luisa, just praying all day. And she did all the work on the internet for the Medjugorje Council in Ireland. So she was very special.
How old was this person?
She was only in her 40s, early 40s.
So she was young.
Yeah, she was young. So she was only in her 20s when she came here. So about 10 years she suffered this illness.
Yeah.
But she promoted Medjugorje in any way she could in Ireland and helped the Medjugorje Council. And my friend said when we walked into Luisa's room, it suddenly hit her that Anne-Marie was a victim soul as well. And while we were over there on the feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, we got the news that Anne-Marie had just died.
Oh.
So Anne-Marie was a special person as well, but that was tied in with Luisa, because Luisa tells us that God has to have about 12 or 13 victim souls at any time in the world to console him and, you know, with their prayers and their sufferings. So just different things happened, you know, but it just makes it so real, Carol, when you visit the tomb of Luisa, when you're, you know, reading the teachings for a few years, it makes it very real to be beside her tomb. And it's in the main church beside the main altar. You know, and you spend the time in the church. It's beautiful.
So tell us a little bit about Luisa's house. Now, we know that Luisa, was she about 12 or so, that she actually got, when this all started to begin for her, she was on her balcony in her house and she saw a vision of the Lord's passion, and the Lord was carrying his cross, and he asked her to help. He asked her to help him. And that's really how it all began. So you were actually in this house, and where obviously we know that she was in her bed for most of her life and she was living on the Eucharist. So you actually saw where Luisa slept, where the priest visited. So that must have been quite extraordinary to see all of this, Kathy.
It is, because Carol, when we went back this year with our spiritual director, Father Michael, and 4 of us from the prayer group. And as soon as we approached the house, one girl said, "Oh, that's the balcony. That's the balcony where Luisa saw Jesus down in the street." You know, so we were actually standing there where she looked down from the balcony outside the house, and Jesus looked up at her and said, "Soul, help me."
Yes, and friends,
so
if you just
was so excited to see that, you know. If
you're just discovering this video for the first time, or maybe you're new to the divine will, this is Luisa Piccarreta's home, and in the volumes, it details all her writings, and she tells us and shares of all these visions she had. And one of the first visions she had was when she seen the Lord, and he was asking her to become a victim soul. So again, experiencing that must have been incredible. But the actual town itself, the place of Corato, what does it actually look like? Is it big? Is it small? Is it accessible? How can people get there? Is it easy enough to get to from, say, for example, Ireland or the UK?
It is, Carol. So there's direct flights with Ryanair from Dublin. And there's flights coming in from the UK. While we were waiting on our flight to return to Croatia this year, there was 2 flights going to London, I think EasyJet. And so there's different companies flying into Bari, and the flights aren't expensive. And Bari is a small airport. And as you exit the airport, you walk straight into the train station. You go down an escalator, you're straight into the train station. And within 30 minutes, you're in Corato.
Wow.
You see this, as you approach Corato, you see the sign for the association, the Luisa Piccarreta Association. You walk in that direction, and the association, they were based in Luisa's house, which is just around the corner from the church.
Amazing.
And then just up the road is the convent. So at the moment, they're renovating Luisa's house, and the association have moved up to the convent. So they have Luisa's bed and wardrobe and the different things in her room up in the convent. So we visited the convent this year, and we got to speak to the members in the association. And it's really interesting to ask them the different questions you have. They really educate you on maybe information that you're missing. And our priest was really, there was a nun there, because Luisa stayed as part of the convent there, the Daughters of Divine Zeal, for 10 years. So there was a nun, the convent is there, so there was a nun present, and our priest kept asking the nun different questions.
Right.
And getting the answers that he wanted to hear, and it was very interesting,
right.
To have her present, and we really learned a lot.
So tell us then about Padre Pio, because we know this wonderful saint was a great advocate for the divine will. So share a little bit about that, about going to see Padre Pio and how far away he lives from Corato.
So both times we went to Corato, we just got the public bus from Corato that goes to San Giovanni. So you wait at the bus stop and you get the public bus that brings you up to San Giovanni Rotondo. Because Padre Pio was alive at the same time as Luisa. And if anyone from Corato went up to San Giovanni Rotondo and said to Padre Pio that they were from Corato, he would say, "Why are you here? You have an angel, Luisa, in Corato. You don't need to come to me. Go to Luisa." And he wanted a divine will center established in San Giovanni Rotondo, and it's still there today. He wanted everybody to know about divine will.
Mm-hmm.
And Padre Pio is a huge part now of divine will as well. I would be a spiritual daughter of Padre Pio's, and I know that he wants me now to learn about divine will.
Yes.
And to get the knowledges,
So since these visits, Kathy, have you seen a difference in your life? Have you experienced many graces since you've made this pilgrimage to Luisa's birthplace?
Carol, like divine will is a pilgrimage. Even we're told the rounds in divine will is a pilgrimage in your mind, going around, thanking God for everything he's done from the beginning of creation. So divine will is a pilgrimage. So I'm on a journey. And the first time I went to Corato, I went with my friend. It was my 50th birthday. It was a really special birthday present from God to bring me there at that time. It was bringing me forward, on my pilgrimage. The next year in 2019, I went with my husband, and he rented a car. So we were able to go and see the tomb of Saint Benedict and Saint Scholastica.
Oh, wow.
Because now I had become a Benedictine daughter, an oblate. So it was important as well that I saw Saint Benedict. So I got to see Saint Benedict as well. And Ible de Francia, that's the spiritual director of Luisa. He's important as well. Somebody gave me a relic of his.
Oh,
so
wow.
all these people are coming into my life. This is the pilgrimage of getting to know more about divine will. And now this third time, we're just back. We have our prayer group now. Our spiritual director was with us, a few members of the prayer group, and now we're doing more for divine will. So we're moving forward in the way I think we should move forward.
It's very exciting, Kathy, and I think it's even more exciting when you can visualize, because when you do begin to read Luisa's writings, you're trying to figure, you're visualizing where she lives, the priest coming in to visit her daily routine, what's happening to her. But to actually experience, I guess it's like us when we go to Medjugorje and we see the visionaries, we get to experience somewhat of what the visionaries experience. But to go and see Luisa and in her surroundings must be absolutely wonderful. And I guess, as you say, he says that flights, you can get direct flights from the UK and Ireland to go and see her, to go and see Corato. Isn't that right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Bari Airport. You
Yeah,
need to fly to Bari Airport.
Yeah. So, I mean, we want to encourage people. I think for me, I probably will try and make the journey over to see Louisa's birthplace, because, like I say, when you begin to read her writings, I think it becomes even far more real for you when you experience a holy place like that. And again, killing two birds with one stone by being able to go out and see Padre Pio as well. I know you showed us photographs of your visit there. So what we might do is we might actually tag those photographs on to the end of this video. So have you anything really before we, I guess, finish? Just a short, brief chat today to share a little bit about Luisa's birthplace. Would you have anything to say maybe to our viewers? Any more you'd like to add?
There is something special about visiting the grave or the tomb of a person. In Medjugorje, we have the grave of Father Slavko. He's the Franciscan priest who died on the top of the Cross Mountain. And the next day, Our Lady gave us a message to say that Father Slavko is interceding for us, you know, praying for us in heaven, bringing our prayers in front of God, really. And we're all encouraged in Medjugorje to go to his grave and to bring our intentions there. But Luisa is the one who's teaching us how to live in divine will. So if we take that little bit of time off, you know, and go on pilgrimage where you leave your responsibilities behind and spend time with Luisa, she wants us to live in divine will. She wants this divine life for us, and she earned it for us. Mm-hmm. So just with my journey in divine will, obviously it was important for me to go there. God wanted me to go there, and I would encourage anybody to go there and spend that time, that it is an important thing to do. It makes it very real for you to see everything and to see Luisa in the main church, beside the main altar, you know, and she really wants us to live this divine life.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. I want to encourage you, if you haven't already started to begin and read the writings of Luisa, I want to encourage you to pick up a copy of The Son of My Will, which is Vatican published, as we've said in our earlier interviews. This is obviously promoted by the church. We want to encourage you to read these writings. They will absolutely empower you and take your faith to a whole new level. So anyway, listen, Kathy, it's great to talk to you today, and thank you again for popping by all the way over there in Medjugorje. I know it's very hot where you are right now, just like it is very hot in Ireland and in the UK, but we're not giving out about the weather because we don't really get it as much as over here. But again, thank you, and I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
Thank you, Carol. God bless.
All right, until next time, bye for now.
Bye-bye, Carol.